Off the Christmas break, we're right here on the Final Judgment. Tony Jigsaw Cutillo at Cutillo 23, powered by Heat Ratio Sports at Heat Ratio Sports. Follow the YouTube page, hit the notification bell. You know the deal. So, first of all, happy holidays to everybody. And second of all, Santa Claus gave the Philadelphia Eagles a very big gift. And that gift, quite honestly, could be head coach Nick Sirianni. Now, I label this as Nick Sirianni. You could be the guy. You could be that dude. For all you people that are WWE fans, remember when John Cena would go against Roman Reigns, the infamous back and forth promo when he said, "Hey, you aren't the guy. I'm the guy," right? You may just be a guy. I am the guy. Well, Nick Sirianni could be that guy. He could be that dude. And I honestly could have been 100% wrong. They say don't judge a book by its cover, right? It's an old cliche term. I understand that. Or I should say, old cliche phrase. But when Nick Sirianni came to Philadelphia, his first press conference, his first couple press conferences were a mess, train wreck. Like something, you know, I don't even know how to explain it. When I listened to those press conferences, I said, listen, I took public speaking class when I was in college. And the first thing they do is have you sit in front of a microphone, in front of the audience, in front of a camera, and speak and see how you portray yourself. How do you present your opinions? How do you analyze questions that are given to you? How do you answer with a direct response? Nick Sirianni did absolutely none of that. A guy that's been in the league for X amount of years. I understand that he's young, but he's still been guided by certain people, obviously in Indianapolis by Frank Reich. So maybe he was just nervous, but then the second time he talked, the third time he talked, it seemed like he had trouble basically stringing together his words, and something that is a red flag in some instances. Well, one thing that's not a red flag is the way he cares about his players, the way that he brings them all together. Jalen Hurts, we've talked about numerous times about facing adversity his entire career. Nick Sirianni has faced adversity this entire year with injuries, with COVID, with bad play, with erratic quarterback play in the beginning, with an offense that stalled, with a defensive scheme that wasn't working. We're talking about in the beginning of the year, talking about the worst defense in the NFL to finally getting to a top 10 defense. Now, I understand a lot of that has to do with Jonathan Gannon, defensive coordinator, but a lot of that also has to do with the direction of Nick Sirianni and the respect that he gives his players and the culture that he brings to the clubhouse. And that's why I got to say again, Nick Sirianni, you could be the guy. You've already doubled the win total of last year's Eagles team. And this one stat, which I absolutely love, 9 out of 294 teams made the playoffs starting 2-5. The Eagles may be number 10. It honestly could happen. This could be a 10-win game. Now, I'm going to pat myself on the back because I said in the beginning of the year that this was a 9-win team. So I 100% believe I will get to the 9 wins. Possibly could get to 10. Not a lot of people believe that. Another one, and this is great, but a great Rob Motti writes for AP, used to be 97.5 The Fanatic, says the Eagles have scored 30 or more points 7 times this season. They're averaging almost 30 points per game since week 8, which is second highest in the NFL in that span, behind none other than Frank Reich's Indianapolis Colts at 31.4. Great stat by Rob Motti. So this makes you think, how far can the Eagles go? And honestly, I don't care because he's already exceeded expectations for this team and for the future of this franchise. Now, whether they get to the playoffs, whether they lose in the playoffs, whether they win in the playoffs, it doesn't really matter. What matters is he has this team playing for him. He has players playing at a level that we did not think were capable. He has learned how to grow and coach on the fly his young quarterback, who I still feel needs another shot next year. So, Nick Sirianni, you could be the guy. And I'm leaning towards you are the guy. But right now, it's could, but possibly It could be R. We could also talk about Howie Roseman. That's a conversation for another day. But all I need to say is I was never a big Doug Peterson guy, but I tipped my hat to him when he won the Super Bowl. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't a big Nick Sirianni fan, and I know it's not even been 1 year, but I was telling you my gut, my personal feelings were against this guy. But what he's been able to do in that clubhouse, how he's been able to lead men, you can see it. Take away all the jersey wearing and all the nostalgia that he brings. He tries to be one with the culture of the history of Philadelphia sports. Take for him to coach where he's leading guys like Lane Johnson through his adversity. Guys like Jason Kelsey wanting to play for this guy with the grit and the grind. Jalen Hurts understanding what he needs to do to be successful. This run game that has been absolutely electric, 175 yards per game over the last 8 or 9. Nick Sirianni, you could be the guy. So what I want to do is the final judgment today for me is Nick Sirianni should be head coach of the year. I don't want to hear Brandon Staley's name because they have hit a roadblock and he has the same damn record as Nick Sirianni. So for me, Nick Sirianni is the leading candidate, especially if the Philadelphia Eagles get the 10 wins. But I want to hear from you. My final judgment is he is head coach of the year. My final judgment is he could be the guy. But do you believe he is the guy? Again, Tony Jigsaw Cutillo at TCutillo23 at Heat Ratio Sports for the final judgment. Get with me at the threads and let me know how you feel about the Eagles head coach, Nick Sirianni.